Good morning everybody and welcome back to another weekly recap. Now this morning we just had the Beneath Cursed Sands release, a brand new quest that has expanded the desert storyline and will be a precursor to the new raid. Now with it we have a brand new item released as well, the Keris partisan. So we're going to be covering the quest as well as anything else interesting in the old school RuneScape community this week. Hope you guys enjoy as always. If you do, always appreciate a like in the video. Anyway, let's get started. Alright, so the Beneath Cursed Sands quest just released a few hours ago and is going to be a requirement to do the new Tombs of Masket when that releases, so if you have a chance, now is a good time to do it. Now this is the newest quest in the desert storyline, which means there are a few precursor quests and other requirements you need to start the quest. For example, you need the completion of Contact, 62 agility, 55 firemaking, and 55 crafting. It is labeled as a master level quest, but nothing here is too challenging. Now you start the quest in Sophenheim by talking to Jamila. Now what I really like about this quest is it not only expands the desert from a narrative perspective, but physically there are new locations in the desert which before were just black void. So that is definitely an improvement. We have the city of Necropolis, which is this kind of cool, kind of sandstone looking city with a gigantic pyramid in the corner, which presumably that is where the third raid will go. Can't imagine anything else that this would be used for because you don't actually go into it during the quest. Apparently you can't protect melee against this person, so I might not actually be prepared for this because all I have is graceful and a whip. Oh my god, this is really close and I have no food left except for my cooked meat, but I need that for the quest, so I'm not going to eat it. Okay, we're fine. Now you have to traverse through this really interesting dungeon as well that has kind of sepulcher style traps and a few puzzles as well. Now the quest has two boss fights, and both of them I didn't find particularly hard. They're both weak to range, and I just used a blowpipe, and that it just seemed to work anyway. There we go, we are done with Beneath Cursed Sands. You get 20,000 agility experience for that, which is actually really nice. Now you get two items for finishing the quest. So you get the Circlet of Water, which is actually kind of a newly added in item, which is charged with water runes and will act like a unlimited water skin. So definitely a nice quality of life item for the desert. And the main reward is the upgraded keris, which is the Keris partisan, which gives you 33% more damage against cow fights and scarabites alongside a 1 in 50 chance of doing triple damage. Now the effect is quite strong, but the original keris was just so weak that nobody would use it, but now with the Keris partisan it has much stronger stats alongside the ability to have it upgraded. Now the upgrades aren't actually released yet. Once the Tombs of Masket is released, you'll be able to insert different jewels into the partisan to give it an additional effect. We have the Eye of the Corruptor, which will add a burn effect to any enemies that you attack. There is the Jewel of the Sun, which will apply a debuff, which will cause them to take more damage. And there's the Breach of the Scarab, which will just give you 33% more accuracy against cow fights and scarabites as well. Now another thing that is kind of unique to the Keris partisan is actually has a fairly decent crush attack bonus, which means unlike other spears you can train strength while killing creatures that are weak to crush. Will that be enough to make it worthwhile using against like Cowfight Queen or I don't know, other scarab monsters? It still seems like a pretty niche weapon, but even if it's even somewhat comparable to how strong the Arclight is, then I think it's worth using. So overall, a pretty interesting quest with a bunch of new cool locations and a few interesting rewards as well. Alright, so the precursor quest for the Tombs of Masket is out. When is the Tombs of Masket? Well, no release date yet. The only thing they mention at the bottom is now it's not too long until you're able to take on the Tombs of Masket. So I would say, just based on how I interpret super vague statements from Jagex, I would make a guess at a couple months. Now in today's update, we also got a change to the Pharos Scepter. As we're already in the desert anyway, they thought they'd use today's update to make some improvements to the Pharos Scepter. So the main change they've made is to the number of charges that the Scepter can hold. Previously it was very low and it was quite annoying to have to recharge it so frequently. Now you will still recharge the Pharos Scepter with artifacts from Pyramid Plunder, but the amount it can hold in total and the amount you get, much higher. So the default is still going to be 3, but once you get the easy desert diary, it'll go up to 10 charges. Once you get the medium done, up to 25 charges. The hard diary is 50 charges and the elite diary 100 charges, making it a whole lot more convenient to use. Now because of this change, they've now condensed the scepters into simply two variants, charged and uncharged. Now if you do happen to have the old scepters in your inventory, they'll automatically be converted to the new ones, but if you have some in your bank, you'll have to actually click on them while they're in your inventory to update them to the new one. Okay, so one big thing that happened last week is Jagex updated the inventory. Now, there wasn't supposed to be really a notable change to it. It was simply meant to modernize it and to make it easier to roll out new features in the future. However, due to this rework, a whole host of different issues have sprung up, notably not being able to switch gear very easily or at all. Things that required very precise tick manipulation were nearly impossible, making darts the experience per hour plummeted, and a few other unforeseen issues such as being able to high alch while fishing, and even issues while trying to drag items around in your inventory, so just a whole bunch of stuff actually. So they have fixed everything I mentioned so far, but there are still some outstanding issues. Now, pretty much right after the update, many people were simply asking them to revert the changes, but apparently, due to the way these changes were actually built, it was virtually impossible, so instead they've done all they can to minimize the disruption. So obviously they're trying to make some under the hood changes here to make the inventory system easier to work with for future changes, but the only kind of worrying thing here is why they couldn't revert it. I don't understand how that really works, but hopefully in the future they have a kind of a contingency plan if something like this happens again. So finally, we have the Deadman Mode rerun open beta, which is going to be happening on Friday. I think at this point it will actually be probably a year before the Deadman Mode tournament is rerun. Oh, they could have just done another one at that point. But yep, that is happening Friday, April 29th at 1300 BST. And that is it for today's content update. Now this morning, the results for the PvP Arena poll came in, and the only reason that the entire poll didn't fail was because they put in one question for Beneath Cursed Sands, should they add the circlet of water. So the entire poll failed. Even stuff like the ornament kits, those failed, albeit not by that much. But then we have the more controversial items, some of them not even getting 50%. So I want to take a minute to have a look at this and discuss what exactly this means. So jumping into the poll here, I think what would be kind of interesting to have a look at is how many people voted on each question, because that will give us a bit of an indicator on how restricted this poll was. Because remember, this poll was restricted to those who participate in PvP. Now the metrics for that were not mentioned, so we don't really know exactly how they restricted it. But there certainly were some requirements to vote in this poll. Now, to begin with here, the very top question, the Circlet of the Water had 34,000 yes votes and 5,000 no votes, it passed. Now, question 2, it appeared that pretty much everyone could vote on that as well, as there were nearly 30,000 votes for that, and only 2,000 skips. But moving down here to question 3, should Untradeable Blighted Wave and Surge Sacks be added? That one failed, and 24,000 people had to skip that question. And if you continue down here further, the polls continue to fail, but by even more significant margins. The wristbands of the arena, the Centuria and Cuirass, the Calamity chest and breeches, they all failed with about a 50-50 vote split. And the Humble, Chivalry, and Piety prayers only had a 42% yes vote. Now what's interesting about this is even though this vote was restricted to those who participate in PvP, the rewards still failed, which means even the PvP community didn't really like most of these rewards. So now Jagex is in a bit of an awkward situation. The PvP arena kind of has to be added. I think they literally have to get rid of the duel arena because it is viewed too closely to gambling, but there are no rewards right now. So are they going to repoll these, change up the rewards entirely, or put them in as an integrity change? I don't know. But as of today, there are no rewards. So let me know what you think about that down below. And with that, that is going to be it for today's weekly recap. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Now before I go here, I want to give a giant thank you to all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to Nello, Alejandra, The Hybrid, and Kush Patel for all being subscribed to the Dragon tier. Really, I appreciate it so much. Also a giant thank you to Kaitin987, Mexos, Base Titch, MDM001, and YoYoSub89 for being subscribed to the Runite tier. Appreciate you guys as well. As always, if anyone's looking for a direct way to support me, YouTube membership is the best way to do so. You'll get immortalized in all of my future videos, you can get a custom role on my Discord server, and you'll even know when all my videos are coming out. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.